So in your seated position, you can close your eyes if that feels good to you. You can leave them open if that feels better. You'll start to arrive into an awareness of what you feel and how you feel. So feeling your body, sensing your breath, the length of your inhalations and exhalations, where you feel movement, maybe where it's a little dull or a little stuck. This is just observational. There's no right or wrong. No judgment needs to be made here. No changes need to be made here. We're just kind of taking stock of what's here in our practice this morning. And then as you continue to pay attention to your breath, you can start to refine your breath. So now maybe noticing when you found the places that feel full and vibrant and the places that feel a little dull, you can intentionally begin to invite your breath into the places that feel dull, where they feel like maybe you didn't have as much expansion. Or you can start to invite a little more length into your breath. You can invite some balance into your breath, noticing the length of inhalations and exhalations, and then turning your attention to whatever feels shorter and inviting that to lengthen. Then we'll continue to refine this breath, and we can start to break each breath into 3 parts on the inhalation and 3 parts on the exhalation. So with your next in-breath, think about filling your torso with breath from the bottom of your pelvis to about your navel, and then pause. And then keep your inhalation going and bring it up into your ribs and pause. And then keep the inhalation going until your torso is completely full, right to the very tops of your shoulders and your chest. Pause on full, and you'll exhale the top 1/3. You'll exhale the middle 1/3, and you'll exhale and completely empty. Try that one again. You'll inhale to the bottom 1/3, and then inhale to the middle 1/3, and inhale through to the top of your shoulders. Exhale top, exhale middle, exhale completely empty. One more time, lengthening the pauses. This time, inhale to the bottom 1/3 of your torso. And then inhale to the middle 1/3 of your torso. And inhale, fill all the way to the top and pause on full. Exhale the top 1/3. Exhale the middle 1/3. Exhale completely empty, and you're going to hug your belly in as you squeeze out the last drops of air. Now smoothing those pauses out, but still breathing with the entire length and expanse of your torso. Inhaling, filling completely. Exhaling, emptying completely. And you can bring a little ujjayi sound in now if you haven't already. So lightly touching your tongue behind your top 2 front teeth, slightly lowering your chin, slightly lifting your soft palate. You can get that sound of a whisper going on. And somewhere in your next couple of breaths, with an exhalation, you'll begin to walk down into a forward fold over your crossed legs. So if you're kneeling, move into a cross-legged position. And we'll start to walk our way into a forward fold, and it doesn't have to be very deep quite yet. You're just going to hinge forward over your crossed legs and pause. There might be a little bit of fluid action in your spine here. As you inhale, it lifts up a little. As you exhale, maybe it melts a little deeper. And the next time you inhale, you can lift up onto your fingertips. You'll walk your hands around to the right. And then let yourself bow over your right leg. And now you might feel a little more intensity in the left side of your waist. We'll inhale, lift up to fingertips. You can walk through the center. We'll make our way over to the other side, lining yourself up with your left knee. And then melting over your left leg, and now you might have a little more intensity in the right side of your waist. Let's inhale, we'll walk back through the center, make your way up to sitting upright, and we'll change the cross of our legs. So I know we all kind of have a habitual way to sit. I always pull my left leg in first. So it takes a little thinking about, but it can be helpful to switch legs so that we get a similar sort of stretch. But on the other side, you can walk your way down into the forward fold, and maybe it feels different. Probably it feels different. This is something to be curious about. You can inhale, you'll lift yourself up, walk around to the right. You can bow over your right leg. Beautiful. You can inhale, lift yourself up, we'll walk through center, walk around to the left, exhale, and bow over your left leg. You'll inhale, walk back through the center. Let's walk our way upright. From here, you can shift over to one hip. Help yourself forward. We'll come forward to hands and knees. And we'll start with a little cat and cow, just warming up our spines a little, lifting sitting bones, lifting heart, lifting head. You can exhale and round and hug in. Lifting and lengthening, rounding and hugging in. And after a few rounds of cat and cow, since we're working into our hips today, I suggest making some hip circles. So you can take your hips over to one side and rock them forward. Take them over to the other side and walk them back. And we'll reverse the direction of the circles. And finally come back to the center. Let's take our knees out wide. Big toes can angle towards each other. Getting into our hips in a child's pose. And you can also kind of get into your shoulders a little bit here by placing your elbows on the floor and reaching your hips back as you melt your heart and head down towards the floor. Let's take one or two more deep breaths here. We'll inhale, rock forward. You can place your knees now right under your hips. Hands right under or a little forward of your shoulders. We'll start to make our way into downward facing dog. So you can tuck your toes, lift your knees, press back. And then from here, bend your knees again. Bring your shins as close to parallel to the floor as you can while still pressing the front of your mat away. We're trying to keep this straight line from fingers to hips, pressing the front of the mat away. Deepening in your hip creases, lift your sitting bones, let them spread, have your belly in, and then we can re-extend our legs. And once you find this position, it might feel good to walk the dog. You can bend one knee, bend the other. And you can keep walking and just start to walk your feet forward towards your hands. Maybe even rolling heel to toe as you walk forward. We'll find our way to a standing forward fold, and make sure your feet are about the width of your hips. We want the midlines of our feet parallel to the long axis of our mat. Feet the width of our hips, and then you'll bend your knees and let your heart drop forward. Checking in with where your knees are going. They might be splaying out to the side, they might be collapsing in. See if you can get your knees to track straight out along the midlines of your feet as you reach your hips back. And now with an exhalation, you'll press into your feet and lift your hips, sitting bones moving up and away from heels. Your in-breath brings you back to this crouch, knees tracking the midlines of your feet. Exhaling, lifting up. And we can speed this up as much as you like. I like this to be quite brisk. This kind of feels to me like an energetic pump. You're circulating prana. You can inhale, crouch, exhale, press. Inhale, crouch, exhale, press. It's a little vibrant. It's a bit of pranayama, waking yourself up. The next time you come into this half crouch, we'll pause for an exhalation. And when you inhale, take it to Uttanasana, chair pose. So again, we've got our feet the width of our hips. That means our knees are going to stay the width of our hips. And you can really finesse that, thinking about lifting both the inner and outer edges of our feet. Checking in to notice where your knees are going. If they're collapsing out, you'll lift the outer edge a little more. If they're collapsing in, you'll lift your inner arch a little more. Let's take one more breath in our Uttanasana. And then you can extend your legs, extend your arms. Maybe there's even a little back bend here. As you exhale, fold Uttanasana. Feel free to bend your knees so you can spill your pelvis forward around the heads of your femurs. When you inhale, you'll lift halfway up. When you exhale, you'll bend your knees a little bit, and we'll take the right foot back to a low lunge. Slide your right knee down to the mat. Point your toes back. We'll hug our inner thighs in, and let's walk our hands up onto the left thigh and take a few breaths rocking in and out of this lunge. So your inhalation slides your hips forward. You can come into the lunge. Your exhalation rocks you back. And watch your hips here. We want to make sure we're keeping hip points facing straight forward. We're keeping some action in our legs. It's really easy to kind of twist our hips open and collapse into this pose, which is a little tough on your SI joints. We want to keep ourselves stable, moving in and out, so we're opening up hip flexors without twisting the joints around your sacrum. Nice, you guys look amazing. The next time we come into this lunge, let's keep left hand on left knee, and we'll reach right hand forward and up. Now getting lots of extension from right toes to right fingertips. This might be your pose. If you want a little bit more stretch, you'll lean slightly to the left, begin to reach your left hand down, and maybe you can touch the floor with your left fingers. We'll inhale, pick this back up. You can exhale, take your hands down to the floor. We'll tuck right toes, lift right knee, and step forward for our half forward fold. Full forward fold as you exhale. Let's inhale, bend our knees, reach up, hold Uttanasana. And we can interlace fingers around the base of our skull here. Thumbs kind of pointing down the sides of your neck. Find a little lift. You can lift with your hands, release your head back into the support of your hands. Let your shoulders kind of dangle from your ears. Maybe it feels good to turn your head a little side to side. And eventually you can extend your arms. Exhale, fold Uttanasana. We'll inhale, halfway lift. Bend your knees a little, left foot is stepping back. You'll slide your left knee down to the mat, point your toes back, hug inner thighs in, and let's rock in and out. We want to be coming straight forward and back, not twisting open to the left. So sliding forward and back. If this is a little much in your left knee, you can always double up your mat or give yourself some padding with a blanket or a towel. And then you can slide into the lunge, taking right hand to right knee or thigh. We'll reach left hand up. So now we've got extension from left toes to left fingertips. This might be enough. After a breath or two, you may want to side bend it slightly to the right, reaching left hand over to the right side of the room, maybe touching your right fingertips down. You can inhale, pick yourself back up. We'll exhale, take hands down to the mat. You can tuck your left toes, lift your left knee, step forward, half forward fold. But again, our feet the width of our hips. Full forward fold with your exhalation. Inhale, bend your knees, reach your hands up, Uttanasana. Let's again bend our elbows, cradle the back of our head, really lengthen. You can even kind of pull with your hands as you lift your elbows up, as you release your shoulders down. Next inhalation, return to Uttanasana. Keep your knees bent as you exhale, float your arms down. So now we're going to take our way into our left foot, hug belly in for balance, pick up your right foot, flex your foot. We'll externally rotate, standing figure four. We're taking our hips back, heart forward, hips back, heart forward, maybe hands reaching forward, maybe hands reaching for the floor. If you're reaching your hands for the floor, resist the temptation to straighten your left leg. If you can keep your left knee bent and your hips moving back, you'll get more of a stretch in your right hip. It's also kind of a good workout for your outer hip and your quads. Beautiful. Hanging out here for 2 more breaths. And we can inhale, stand it back up. We're headed back to Uttanasana, so you can uncross your legs, settle back into your chair. Weight will come into your right foot. We'll pick up the left. Foot flexes, external rotation, cross your ankle over, hips back, heart forward, hips back, heart forward, maybe hands forward, maybe hands reaching for the floor. Nice. Let's take 2 more breaths here. You can inhale, stand this back up, back to chair. When you exhale, forward fold. A little inhale here, lift halfway up. Plant your hands, take your feet back. We're headed through Vinyasa. Vinyasa of your choice, you can take chaturanga, you can come down to your belly. When you find your back bend though, hold it. So maybe you're in Cobra, maybe you're in Sphinx. That's currently my back bend of choice since I can't put much weight in my right hand. Maybe you're in Upward Dog. Wherever you happen to be though, take the front of your shoulders back. Take your heart forward and up. Take your ears and the base of your skull back. There's this little attraction between your chin and the hollow at the top of your breastbone. We could even consider this Jalandhara Bandha. Lifting in the roof of the mouth. A little bit more Ujjayi sound. This circulating energy here. When you exhale, make your way back to your downward facing dog. That was a long back bend, so if you would like to come through child's pose or hands and knees, please feel free to do so. When you find your downward facing dog, take a moment to make sure hands and feet are established, to make sure you've got length in your spine. And then from here, you'll inhale and lift your right foot straight up and back off the floor. Nice, left heel is heavy, your right leg is lifted. Now you can stack your hips, twisting your hips open, pulling your right heel towards your right hip, maybe even circling around in your right hip. Nice, when you exhale, square your hips, shift forward, and see if you can bring your right knee to touch the outside of your right shoulder. Oh, you guys are so strong, I love it. Inhale, press back. Exhale, shift forward, right knee to outside of right shoulder. Yeah, inhale, press back. Exhale, shift forward, right foot to the outside of right hand. So you'll touch down, right foot to the outside of right hand. Now you can set your left knee down. And take your right hand now. You can take it to the outside of your right hip. So this big bony part right here, this is the iliac crest, the side of your ilium. We want to try to work this iliac crest to the inside of your right thigh. So kind of deepening in your hip crease, you can kind of push that hip point inside. Deepen the hip. You may feel a stretch in your upper outer hamstrings when you do this. We'll start to work our way down. Maybe forearms come down towards a block or the floor. Maybe you deepen this by sliding right knee forward or inching left leg back. We're heading into lizard pose here. Nice. And I always catch myself grinding my teeth in this one. This one's kind of intense. So I tend to tense up my jaw. You may find if you tense your jaw, your hip muscles also tend to tense. So do your best to find a little space between your back teeth. Find a softness in your face. Find that Ujjayi sound and Jalandhara Bandha, the lifting at the roof of your mouth, and a softness at the root of your tongue. Beautiful. So we can start to walk our way upright now. So now let's turn right toes towards the right corner of our mat. Slide deeper into the lunge in the left hip. And we can flex the right foot and roll into the outer edge of right foot. So see how your knee feels about this. But if your right foot is flexed, you can stabilize the right knee. This could be your pose, working here. External rotation in the right hip, extension in the left. If you want to add a twist, you can support on your left hand. Right hand would come to your right knee and you twist it to the right. So here's my assistant. Hello, Benny. You can rotate. This could be your pose. If you'd like to bring your left thigh into the picture, you can bend your left knee, reach back, grab your foot, and maybe start to draw your left heel towards your right hip. Let's inhale. We can unwind this pose, walking both hands back to the floor. Let's slide our hips back a little bit and now turn right toes to face the front of the mat. From here, we'll draw right hip back. Ardha Hanumanasana, half split, bowing over your right leg. Maybe you flex your right toes back towards your right shin, pointing them out to the ceiling. And we can inhale, rock forward, tuck your left toes, lift your left knee, step it back, and take your vinyasa if you so desire. If Ekapada Vinyasa is in your practice, you could leave your right foot off the floor through this sequence. Beautiful. I love how slowly everyone goes through Chaturanga and Upward Dog. That was gorgeous. Keep it up. Let's take one more breath in Down Dog. And then you'll inhale and take your left foot straight up and back. Straight up and back from your Down Dog at first, and then stacking left hip over right. You can bend your knee, maybe pull your heel towards your glutes a little bit. Circle that knee around if it feels good. When you exhale, you'll square your hips, shift forward. We're tucking the left knee towards the left shoulder. Three-legged plank, inhale, press back. You'll exhale, shift forward, tuck the left knee towards left shoulder. Inhale, press back. Exhale, shift forward. We'll tuck the left knee towards left shoulder, place left foot to the outside of left hand, and your right knee will come down to the mat. Lizard pose. So we're working here. I like to slide out of the lunge a little bit so that I can access the pelvic movement a little bit more easily. Left hand will come to the left side of your pelvis, and we try to work this hip point toward the inside of your thigh. We'll start to work elbows down towards the floor, maybe get some extension. And spend some time hanging out. Extension in the right hip, deep flexion in the left. Let's take one more exhalation here. And you can start to work your way up. Back up onto the palms of your hands. We'll turn left toes towards the left corner of our mat. Come back into this extension and consider some external rotation. So maybe you can roll onto the outer edge of your left foot, let your left knee come out to the side. This could be your pose. After a few breaths, maybe left hand finds left knee. After a few breaths, maybe left hand finds right foot. As you inhale, you can let that go, unwind. We'll work our hands back to the floor, work our left toes back, parallel to the front of the mat. And then we can slide left hip back, Ardha Hanumanasana, half split. And finally, you can rock forward, tuck your right toes, lift your right knee, press back, find your vinyasa, maybe Ekapada if that is in your practice, one-footed. You could leave your left foot off the floor through the flow. Nice work. Pressing back to downward dog. Kind of interesting now. We've had a long asymmetrical series, and now we're back in a symmetrical shape. So take a moment and see what you feel and how you feel. Let's take one more breath in downward facing dog. You can bend your knees and look forward. Feet will move to your hands. We're again placing our feet the width of our hips. Kind of the theme for the day. We're taking wide-footed chair. And we'll bend our knees. Hips reach back. Hands reach forward and up. Let's cup the base of our skull. Reach our elbows up. Give ourselves a moment to lengthen and stretch our necks. All right, you can inhale, return to your chair. Exhale, release your hands. We're taking weight back into the left foot, picking up the right. External rotation, balancing figure four, sometimes also called temple dancer pose. hips back, heart forward, hands forward. All right, if anyone's feeling spry today, let's see if I can do this. I don't know. We'll take hands to our hearts. Maybe you can twist this. So you would twist to the left, and maybe put your right elbow in the arch of your right foot. I think you get bonus points if you're trying to do this one on carpet. Beautiful. You can inhale, unbind, unwind. Let's come back to our chair. Same pose, other side. We'll root down through our feet, pick up the left foot, foot flexed, hips reach back, heart reaches forward. Let's twist. Maybe left elbow finds the arch of the left foot. Nice. You can inhale, unbind, unwind. Let's come back to chair. Exhale, fold forward for Uttanasana. You can inhale, lift halfway. Plant your hands, step or float. You're back going through Vinyasa. Upward dog on your in-breath. Downward dog on your out-breath. You can inhale and lift your right foot. Stack your hips, bend your knee, and looking at this crowd, I think I'm going to have at least a few takers. Flip it to wild thing if you like. You can tip it right over into the back bend. Nice. Oh, beautiful. As you exhale, you'll flip it back. Three-legged down dog. Next exhalation, shift forward, right knee into your chest, hovering in three-legged plank. You'll inhale and press back. Exhale, you'll shift forward, right knee into your chest, three-legged plank. Lift your knee and shin as high as you can. Inhale, press back. Exhale, shift forward, knee into your chest, right foot between your hands, lifting to your high lunge. So we'll hug inner thighs in, we'll lift left thigh, kind of scissoring legs towards the midline, pick up your fingers, reach your hands for the ceiling. From your high lunge, we're going to take this to warrior two. So keep your right knee directly over your right ankle. You might even look down. Make sure you can see your big toe as we turn belly and hip away from the right inner thigh, but not so much that it drags your right knee with. So we make this transition, opening the pelvis out to the side, but we keep pulling the right knee to the little toe side of your foot. See if you can center yourself in the middle of this pose. We'll take our arms out. Palms down, looking out over your right middle finger. Take one more breath in Virabhadrasana 2. We're going to take this to side angle pose. And the transition from second warrior to side angle is a movement of the pelvis. So we think about lifting the left side of the pelvis. We're deepening right hip crease. Legs stay the same. And maybe you rest your right forearm on your right thigh. Front ribs hug in. You kind of rotate around to the left. You can make a straight line on the top side of your body by extending your left arm. And from here, maybe you start to work your right hand down to the floor, to a block, to your foot. Just remember that the name of this pose, Parsvakonasana, side angle, comes from this straight line you make from, in this case, my left heel to my left fingertips. So we're not bending in the waist. Torso is long on both sides. Let's take one more breath here. As you inhale, you'll reach up with your left hand, take it back to warrior two, reverse your warrior. And then we can straighten right leg, release our arms, turn your feet to face the long edge of your mat. We'll hinge forward here. Hands can come down to the floor. If the floor is out of reach, grab your block or your books. We'll just spend some time rocking side to side, little half squats. So you can rock over to the right, reach your right sit bone back. Come back to the center. You can rock over to the left, reach your left sit bone back. Spending some time rocking side to side here. Try to keep your toes pointing forward if you can. If that is creating uncomfortable stretching in your ankles or your knees, you can relieve that by turning your toes out. You just won't get as much rotation in your hips. So there's a little balancing act there. Honor your joints. And when you've rocked an equal number of times to each side, you can come back to the center. We'll exhale, hands to hips. Inhale, stand all the way up. You'll turn back to the front of your mat, back to your high lunge, and bring your hands to the floor, flow through Vinyasa. Nice. So again, we've had a long, slow, asymmetrical sequence. So taking some time in a symmetrical pose might be really interesting. Notice what you're feeling, where you're feeling it. And then you can inhale and take your left foot up, straight up and back. And then stacking hips and bending knee. Flipping it right over into Wild Thing if you so desire. Nice. And if you flipped into Wild Thing, flip it back over. Three-legged down dog. Now, when you exhale, shift forward, three-legged plank, left knee into your chest. Keep your shin high. Very nice. Inhale, press back. Exhale, shift forward, keeping your shin and knee high. Inhale, press back. Exhale, shift forward, left foot between your hands, this time high lunge. So let's set the high lunge up. You're reaching through your right heel, we're hugging in, we'll pull in, palms to shoulders. We'll walk our hands up, roll our shoulders back, and then get the extension in your arms. Now making the transition to warrior two. So you can glance down, make sure your knee is tracking over your middle toe. You can see your left big toe. We turn the pelvis to the right, but not so much that we drag the left knee with. Your torso can go the rest of the way. Pelvis is level, arms can reach out to the side, palms down, looking out over your left middle finger. So what happens in your warrior two if you use your left hamstrings? Maybe pull with your heel a little bit as you reach your right hand back. Ooh, that was interesting. Right, moving from warrior two to side angle, and that's a movement of the pelvis. Right, legs stay the same. So I'm just going to tip my pelvis to the left. Left hip crease is deepening, and I'll start here, left forearm on left thigh. Front ribs hug in, lower left ribs engaging towards right hip. Here's the side angle part, straight line from right heel to right fingertips. In fact, this is Uttita Parsvakonasana, Uttita meaning extended. From here, you can start to reach left hand down, maybe to your book or blocks, maybe to your foot, maybe to the floor. Nice, grounding down through your feet. Let's reach up through right hand. That lift in your right hand takes you all the way back to warrior two. We'll reverse the warrior. Straighten your left leg. Turn again to face the long edge of your mat. This time you'll probably need heels slightly in, toes slightly out. We'll hinge forward. And then bend your right knee. Walk your hands over to the inside of your right foot. And see if you can sit right down into a one-legged squat. Your left toes might even turn towards the ceiling. Your hands might even come off the floor, Skandasana. Nice. If your hands are off the mat, we'll take them back down to the floor. Walk through center. We're headed all the way over to the left. Same thing. Sitting down towards your left heel. Right toes can lift. Maybe hands come off the floor. You can bring your hands back down to the mat. We'll walk to center. Find a half forward fold on an inhalation. Hands to your hips as you exhale. Stand all the way up as you inhale. Back to high lunge, turning to the front of your mat. Reach your hands down and take your vinyasa. Then again, settling into downward facing dog for a couple of breaths. Once more, this symmetrical, kind of steady, resting home base posture after our slow, long, asymmetrical flow. From here, you can bend your knees, look forward, move your feet to your hands. Once more, we are working with feet the width of our hips. We'll inhale, bend our knees, reach our hands up, Utkatasana. Release your arms down by your sides. We'll shift weight into our left foot, pick up our right, external rotation. Hips back, heart forward, hips back, heart forward. Maybe hands reach for the floor. All right, you have choices here. You can stay right where you are, just working on opening up your hips. You can try taking this into a toe balance. We have two options for balance, a standing balance or a hand balance. This is one of my favorite hand balances, and it's going to be a while before I get to demonstrate it again. If you wanted to take the hand balance, we hook right shin onto upper arms, hands come to the floor, you rock forward and try to lift your left foot off the floor, bending your knee. If you want to try the toe balance, that looks like this. Letting your weight shift forward, you can come up onto the ball of your left foot, settle your sitting bones down, one on either side of your left heel. And maybe one or both hands come off the floor. Nice work. Yeah. Beautiful. When you are satisfied with your toe balance, you can take your hands back down. We'll stand back up. Return to your wide-footed chair, and we'll do the other side. So you can pick up your left foot, external rotation, we'll cross the ankle over, hips back, heart forward, working our way down into the standing figure four. And maybe hooking this shin on your upper arms and rocking up as if you were going to do Bakasana, taking right foot off the floor. Maybe taking this into the toe squat. You lower down a little deeper. Right heel comes off the mat. You'll try to work your sitting bones one to either side of your right heel. It's helpful to kind of drop your knees down as you feel the heel lift up towards the pelvic floor. And maybe one or both hands can come off the mat. Nice work. You can start to make your way out in reverse. Beautiful. Standing back up to your chair. And exhale, forward fold. Uttanasana. We'll inhale, halfway lift. Plant your hands, step or float back through Vinyasa. Next inhalation will bring you forward to plank. And then slowly, over the course of about maybe a count of 4 or 5, lower right down onto your belly. All right, so now you'll want one of your lifts. If you're using books, if you're using a block, if you're using a cushion, grab something. We want to be able to prop our thigh up. So I'm going to lay down on my belly. You'll prop up your left thigh. And you want to place your prop just below your hip crease in the flesh of your quads. So that when you lay down on your belly, we get this going on. We get an extension in the left hip. So your leg is lifted up. If you have the prop too far forward, if it's right in your hip crease, I'm getting no stretch at all. I need it back a little bit. So I want extension here. And you may find that this is already enough. You can stay right here. If you want more, left knee bends. If you want more, you can grab your foot. You can even start to pull your left heel towards the outside of your left hip. We'll take about 2 or 3 more breaths here. This is one of those poses you could probably hold for 4 or 5 minutes and keep getting benefits from. But we'll give it maybe another 20 or 30 seconds. And then we can release the left side. And we'll do the same thing on the right. So moving the block now under the top of your right thigh. High enough to give it a good lift, but not so far up on your body that it ends up in your hip crease and you end up kind of piking the hip around it. You want to be able to get extension, which means we want right leg lifted up and off the floor with the assistance of the prop. Nice. This may already be enough. You can intensify the stretch by bending your right knee. You could even reach back and grab your right foot, start to draw your right heel towards the outside of your right hip. And finally, we can extend this leg. You can release the prop out from underneath your thigh. Let's come to hands and knees. And then slide right knee forward in line with right wrist. Swing your your right heel just under your left hip. So we're making external rotation. Left knee touches down. Check in, make sure your hips are square to the front of your mat. And then we make our way into pigeon pose by inching ourselves back. Working to keep hips squared. If you start to tip over to the right, if you roll onto the inside of your left thigh, back off a little bit. If you need to, you can prop up your right hip. Let's walk down to our elbows. And then almost like you're doing Sphinx pose, pull a little bit with your arms. Let your heart draw forward. You can feel your spine lengthen out from your hips. And then we can walk this into the forward fold. You may even want to twist this pose after a couple of breaths. So we can give it a few breaths here, bowing forward over right leg. If you want to twist, left arm slides under your chest over to the right, and you come down onto your left shoulder and your left ear. If you're in the twist, take a breath or two to unwind your twist. We'll pick this up into a back bend. So walking out, maybe onto your fingertips. Maybe you walk your hands to the front thigh. This could be your pose. If you want to add some stretch for your left leg, you can bend this knee, reach back with one or both hands. If you have your strap handy, you can come into full posture. Wrap the strap around the top of your left foot. And you can rotate left elbow forward and up, lifting. Ekapala Raja Kapotasana, one-legged king pigeon pose. Nice. You've got a hold of your foot, you can let that go. We'll take hands back down, inch your left knee forward, take your right knee back. Hip circles here or an extended child's pose might feel really good. And we'll switch sides. We can slide left knee forward and then rotate left shin to an angle. Left heel is just in front of your right hip. And then work our way into the pose by moving our hips back. That's just safer for your knee than trying to pull your shin forward. It keeps you a little more honest in the alignment of your hips. Keep your hips squared. Let's come down to our forearms. You can press into your forearms, pull a little to traction your spine long. And then lay down. You may stay here. It may feel good to take this into a twist, threading your right arm under your chest over to the left. All right, somewhere in your next couple of breaths, you'll begin to lift this up into the back bend. So if you're in the twist, you'll unwind. We'll inhale, walk our way upright, and maybe this is your pose. Hands just in front of or in line with your left shin. Maybe right knee bends and you reach back with one or both hands. You could try looping your strap. Taking the strap around right foot. Reaching up and overhead. or Ekapada or Raja Kapotasana. Nice. Let's take one more breath here. We'll release the strap. Slide your right knee a little forward, slide your left knee back, and find your counter pose. Maybe hip circles, maybe an extended child's pose. Eventually, walk back, shift our hips to one side, take feet out in front. Have your strap and your lift, whatever it happens to be, block or stack of books handy, and we'll roll down. I'd like you to do a little core work here. We haven't done a ton of core work today. So let's think about rolling down over a count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Laying down on your back. Let's walk our feet wide on our mat. Let our knees lean in. This position is a really nice release for your hips. It's the passive release for hip flexors and hip rotators. So we'll hang out here in our legs. Get a hold of your block or your stack of books. We'll place this behind our head. Try to place it so that one of these kind of thin, sharp-ish edges is right at the muscles that attach to the base of your skull. So these are your upper trapezius muscles on either side of the base of your skull. And this is your occipital ridge. We want the corner of the block or the corner of the book stack to be right on that occipital ridge, just below the occipital ridge where your muscles attach. Then we can lay back. Oh, and this may already be enough, just right here, holding for at least 30 seconds, maybe more like a minute or so. And you can also explore here, just slowly turning your head to the right. There may be certain spots that are especially responsive. I just found one. I'm gonna hang out here for a little while. You can keep turning until you've turned your head all the way as far as it'll go to the right. And you can roll back across. Turn your head as far as it'll go to the left. Move slowly. When you find those responsive spots, you're welcome to stay there for a little while. And we can come back to the center and just hang out in the center for a little while. And finally, you'll take the support out from behind your head. Let your head rest back against the mat. Might feel good just to rock it a little side to side. Now we'll take the support under our sacrum. And try to bring it slightly to the tailbone side. We're looking for what we call posterior tipping, which means we're kind of flattening out the lumbar curve. Your hip points are lifting towards your lower ribs, your navel is dropping down, and your tailbone is kind of angling up towards your knees here. So now we'll get back to our strap. Extend your right leg out straight, keeping your heel on the floor. This may already be enough stretch. You need to stay right here. If you would like, you'll take the strap around your left foot, reach your left foot for the ceiling, and then start to draw your left leg in. So now we're getting a hip stretch on the right side and a hamstring and glute stretch on the left. We can give this 2 or 3 more breaths. This is another one that you could really hold for a much longer time than we're holding it, but we'll get some of the benefits here. Then you can unloop the strap from your left foot. Bring your left foot back down to the mat. Slide your right foot in. And we'll walk our feet out wide, mat width, lean your knees in so we get that same internal rotation. And now with your hips elevated, this is even more release for your hip flexors. And we can walk our feet back hip width apart. This time left leg extends, keeping your heel on the floor. If and when you're ready, strap loops around your right foot. And you can reach your right foot up. So now we've got the hamstring stretch on the right and the hip stretch on the left. We'll give this another couple of breaths. And you can unloop the strap from your right foot, take your right foot back to the floor, slide your left foot back in. And now this time, let's take the block a little higher on our sacrum. So now we're looking for neutral spine. We had posterior tipping before. Now we want neutral alignment in the pelvis. Just a little curve in the lumbar spine, supported in the pelvis. And we'll take our feet off the mat one at a time, reaching the soles of your feet for the ceiling, kind of like a really gentle version of shoulder stand. Now you may find that your exhalations are getting a little longer. You can encourage that. You may find that it feels natural to pause following the exhalation, and you can encourage that. And finally, we'll bend our knees. Step our feet back to the floor. You can ground down into your feet just enough to take your support up from underneath you. And let's hinge down rather than rolling down. Keep this beautiful neutral curve in the lumbar spine. Just let your hip creases drop to the mat. And now notice if there are any final movements your body is craving before Shavasana. You might like to hug your knees in or rock them in and out. You might like a reclined twist. You might like a happy baby pose. You might like a bridge pose or an upward bow pose. Maybe there's something else that would suit you. So find the movements that complete your practice. Spend the next, say, 5 or 6 breaths making those movements. And then get comfortable. Find Shavasana. Now you can let go of all of the effort. If there's still any tension, any holding, any resistance to gravity in your body, let the support of the earth beneath you take that. Trust the support. Let go into it. Be interested in your breath. Noticing all of the sensations that come with breathing. Noticing the phases of your breath, and maybe there's some place in your breath that is especially interesting or especially delicious or pleasurable to interact with. Your attention can go there. And then start to feel into the pauses in your breath. The pause after the inhalation, the pause after the exhalation. Those places of stillness and of quiet. And now consciously, intentionally, begin to lengthen and deepen your in-breath. Completely empty with the out-breath, smooth out the pauses. Returning to an awareness of breathing through your entire torso, from bottom to top on the inhalation, from top to bottom on the exhalation, and bring some movement back. Fingers and toes can wiggle, hands and feet can move, arms and legs will reawaken. You'll gradually come back to life. And eventually let your movements carry you over to one side. When you're ready to come up to sitting, use the strength of your arms. You can help yourself up. Find a comfortable seat. Let's take a moment to notice what's here now. Sensations in your body, quality and length of your breath, the pauses in your breath. And finally, we can turn palms out to the side, and with an inhalation, float your arms right up and overhead. Exhale, bringing hands down to Anjali Mudra, one palm against the other in the gesture of greeting and of gratitude. And we'll close, as always, with the sound of Om. You are welcome to join me in the chant. You are welcome to sit and listen. If you'd like to join, we'll inhale and begin. Thank you all so much for sharing your practice this morning. Have a marvelous rest of your weekend. Namaste.